Biking in winter can be dangerous, as well as a lot of fun, as we'll hear from our guest, Steve Cobble, an avid and all-weather biker. I'm Judy Lara Jacobs, the Executive Director of the Friends of the Blue Hills. And if you have seen bikers out on the trail during the winter, or if you are one of those winter bikers, please let us know in the comments. Welcome to Blue Hills Alive, your weekly guide to the Blue Hills. A big shout out to our sponsor, Tom O'Neill of Success Realty, who sponsors these videos every Thursday at noon. Let's start. Steve, thanks for coming.
Yeah, like you said, I'm Steve Cobble. I'm a mountain biker year-round, basically. I'm also the president of the Southeast Mass chapter of New England Mountain Bike Association, which is commonly known as NEMBA. We do a lot of advocacy work all around New England. I guess I'm here to talk about winter biking, though.
Well, why don't you start out first by how you got you're so passionate about biking. How did you get so experienced, and what makes you interested in it?
I was probably about 3 years old when it all started. Like any kid, I rode a bike, and then segued into the good timing when mountain bikes just started to hit the scene, about 1987 or so. That's where that started.
And how did it segue into winter biking?
Well, it's kind of snowballed along for years, and up until this point, I've been gathering more friends in the sport, in the activity of biking, mountain biking, the passion that other people have, and growing to have a lot of fun with it, and I'd like to share that with everybody else.
That's great. So we're on the top of Buck Hill in the Blue Hills. Are there, my understanding is that mountain bikers love the Blue Hills for biking. Why is that? Are there other places that are?
It's a great place to ride because there's a lot of varied terrain here. There's double track that is not as challenging, but you can get some mileage in and get a good workout going up and down hills. I have a little write up on the nemba.org site about. There's nothing flat about the Blue Hills. Look it up. That kind of explains some of the terrain and some of the suggested loops that we have here. With the addition of new trails, such as this one I came up on Buck Hill that we built in 2013 to reroute a really badly eroded trail this way. More recently, in 2016, November last year, we built the new connector to that on the other side, so you can complete a loop back down to the other side, and that really gets people excited when they see single track. Single track is really like the place that bikers want to be. I mean, mountain bikers want to be is challenging, not really wide trails. Where you can, there's lots of turns and ups and downs, and you can brag about it afterwards.
That's great. So when you meet other users of the park, are there any interactions? Like, is there things that you need to be worried about?
For the most part, the interactions are always good as far as I've been. I've been riding in here, like I said, for a long time, everybody's friendly. Everybody seems to get along fine. I never had any issues with anybody or anything here. We're all on the same trails, using them at the same time. Sometimes we're all here to help each other out and take care of the trails as well.
That's great. So I imagine you have some equipment, and your bike is a little bit different for winter biking as opposed to.
Yeah, I have what you might call a standard mountain bike. Some people call them skinnies now because these are fats. I consider my mountain bike is still a fat bike. It just doesn't have as fat tires. The fat tires definitely help in the snow because you have more flotation over the terrain. They're also a lot of people are starting to use them on dry trails as well. which is not bad either, because it's actually the amount of impact of the tire on the trail is actually less than a hiker's boot, because it's just floating over the trail basically. So it's but some of the equipment that I have on here, I have big fat tires. They're not as fat as some of the people that I know have. They seem to be getting wider every year, more technical. You can spend a lot of money on these things, but I didn't spend a lot of money on this one to get my first fat bike. It has you'll notice it doesn't have a suspension fork in the front of it. Not really a requirement with the tires, because the tires generally on snow, you can bring the PSI, the pressure per square inch, down to almost 1 or 2 PSI without flatting or losing any air, and it actually gives you more traction on the snow.
Because they're so firm.
Yeah, there's a lot of technical details that go with that, with temperature going up and down and PSI changing and all that, but I won't get into that. But there's a lot of little details on fat bikes that make a difference in the snow. But the tires and the wheels are the main difference.
And you're not wearing a winter jacket. Does that mean you just warm up? You don't worry
I'm
about
not now. When I started, I had a shell on, which is a light nylon jacket with no insulation that just keeps the wind out and gets me warmed up. And I took that off before I even started the hill. I did a little warm up. I do have another piece of equipment here that another outer layer that I wore underneath that, which is a little more technical. It's a full long sleeve, full zip, polyester, and it's a Tech fabrics. They're so good these days. They wick sweat away, and you can take them off in layers. I have another layer under here. I have micro fleece arm warmers on to keep my arms warm. So right now I'm really comfortable because I got the warm up.
That's great. So if you guys have any questions about winter biking, just let us know in the comments. We'd be happy to answer them. And are there places in the park that maybe are restricted, or times of year you want to talk about that you're not supposed to be biking?
Well, there used to be a winter closure, which in the long run really didn't make sense. So the DCR changed the policy to just what you'd call mud season in the month of March, which makes sense. The ground needs to recuperate from all the use from the winter and all the snow and ice. So it makes sense to stay off the trails in any form, basically, in March. But the Blue Hills, that being said, the Blue Hills drains really well. So even if mud season comes later or earlier, the double track loops, there's two major loops, a white triangle and the yellow triangle that start everybody on. Those drain really well. They're not really usually an issue with the thawing, and except after a big rain or something.
And east of 28, you're just not supposed to bike it.
Yeah, there's the policy right now has mountain bikers are restricted from using from east of Route 28 over to Quincy. We're working on maybe changing that policy someday in the future. I'd like to see that in my lifetime, at least for be able to ride bikes from Braintree or from Quincy to this side of the Blue Hills. It would be very very useful in keeping people off the roads, and they can ride from their own towns.
That's great. So, do you have any other thoughts you want to add about biking? How would you know that there's already ice on the trail and you shouldn't be biking? Do you actually have to walk it?
Well, I was driving through a couple days ago, and I could see the ice luges coming out of the trailheads, so I knew that there was something going on. And I came up yesterday, came up to the same spot yesterday, just to check it out and see what the conditions were like. And the climb to Buck Hill was pretty much fine. The double track loops that I tried to ride on were heavily iced underneath the snow, and it just takes a cautious look to see if you can see that translucency underneath the snow that indicates there's ice there. Otherwise, there are other options for riding in the snow and ice. Like I said, the big tires are great in the snow. Another new, not so new, but trending now are studded tires, studded fat bike tires and studded mountain bike tires, where you can ride on ice and you won't have to worry at all. They're way more expensive than these tires, so they're not for me. But it's definitely a trend now, and they really work.
Good. So, any other last thoughts about biking in the winter, or things people should know if they were interested in trying to check it out?
Well, like I said about the clothing, you want to dress for the event, for the weather. Pretty much what I'm wearing now, I would hike in the same stuff or snowshoe in the same stuff, the same, except for the padded shorts. That'd be the only difference. You just want to be prepared for it. And even with water, one thing I do want to point out about water is that water will freeze when it's cold, when it's below freezing. And the water bottle, as I have here, I've found that it's more important to pre-hydrate starting the night before. If you're going to go for a ride in the morning, start hydrating at night, and then when you first get up, just keep drinking water until you get there, and then you won't even need to drink water while you're riding. If you're going for an hour or two, it's not going to make a difference. You won't have to worry about water freezing. There are other technological tech gadgets for that, so your water won't freeze. I won't get into that. That's another thing. But if anybody's interested in winter biking or mountain biking in general in the area, NEMBA.org is our website. We do have a Facebook presence. Ours is in the Southeast Mass chapter is SEMASSNEMBA on Facebook. Great place to start. There's a huge community there, lots of offshoots from that where you can go and find tech advice and rides, upcoming rides and events coming up. So there's lots of information out there if you're into learning more about biking.
Great. Yeah, NEMBA's a great resource. Thank you, Steve.
All right.
And thank you so much for watching Blue Hills Alive, your guide to the Blue Hills. We give a shout out to Tom O'Neill of Success Realty, who sponsors these videos every week at noon. And if you want to sign up for weekly updates, go to friendsofthebluehills.org/video. And we'll see you next week at noon.